Will M. Night Shyamalan's new feature break the box office, or will it shatter all over the ground?
Well, in this episode of Straight Razor in the Theater, we're going to find out if Glass fractures our expectations.
Nice. Hello Internet, friends, family, my fellow cinephiles. Welcome to another episode of Straight Razor in the Theater, our first video of 2019. Here's to another year of making videos. We're gonna be hitting hard this year.
Oh yeah!
For sure. Not only on this channel, but also on the gaming channel. And this year, there's just going to be a lot of stuff going on.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited. Personally.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff coming out this year. With movie-wise, I'm hoping maybe this year will also be good for gaming as well.
Yes.
So we can get some new coverage there too.
Yes.
Because we got a lot lined up for old stuff, but it'd be nice to get a little bit of new, fresh stuff too.
For sure. For sure. So, last night, on the opening night, we went to go see M. Night Shyamalan's new movie, Glass, which is, if you're not aware, is a continuation of what was started in Unbreakable, and it continued on through Split. So, initial thoughts with Glass. What'd you think?
At first, I wasn't sure what to fully expect, because with Split and with Unbreakable, it was like, yeah, they worked really well tying together with those, but how are you going to bring it all full circle?
Right.
Like, what more can you do when it feels like, okay, this guy's out and about, this guy's already been stopped. It feels like there's no need for a standoff or anything, which is what the trailers felt like they were setting up for.
Right.
Like, okay, now I need to see this to know why it's happening. Like, how this is even possible.
So before we go any further, just like always, go ahead and slap on a spoiler alert for Glass. If you want to go into seeing this movie like we did with not knowing anything, definitely click off this video once you see the film, click back, see what our thoughts, put your thoughts down in the comments, what you thought of the film. And let's see if we can't get a conversation started. I want to start off by saying, going into this film, I was actually kind of nervous after seeing the trailers because I was really hoping that the film was going to keep generally the same style, like the same kind of like dreary feel, or the same kind of like psychological feel that Unbreakable had, and it carried over with Split. They're stylistically, they're relatively similar. With the exception of Unbreakable being kind of like a quote-unquote superhero movie and Split being a horror movie. Because the trailers made this look like it was going to be something in the style of like an MCU film. It really had an MCU feel from the trailer. I will say though, to my surprise, and I was relieved to see this, it does. It feels like you're watching Unbreakable as if it was made in 2019. It really does feel like Unbreakable. Not to say that it's the same movie, because by far it is not the same story. David Dunn is now been... he's gone by multiple names throughout the film, but the real popular one, the one that is like that's kind of stuck with him recently, is the Overseer, and he is continuing his antics of being, the quote-unquote protector of the city after bringing down Mr. Glass, and he's looking for the Horde, which is basically, everything that went down in Split, and he finds him, it creates a standoff, and it gets him and Crumb arrested, thrown into a mental institution where they just so happen to be holding Mr. Glass, which forms, there's an alliance that forms between Mr. Glass and the Horde, and really, I won't say spectacular, that won't be the word I use. I think M. Night Shyamalan took the formula that he created for the superhero movie with what he created in Unbreakable, and he enhanced it with Glass.
Fair enough, yeah. I mean, it's hard enough to actually set up a film universe as is.
Right.
Especially if you're working with nothing to base it off of.
Well, there's that, and also the fact that there's just so many out there now. Everything is a shared universe at this point, which, I mean, I'm not complaining. That's kind of like my favorite new phenomenon in film is the shared universe concept. I've always been intrigued by it. That's what drew me to Quentin Tarantino's films. It's what drew me to the early films of Kevin Smith, who ended up becoming one of my favorite directors. Like, the shared universe thing has always been, like, a part of what I like about, you know, films, or just any kind of fictional medium to begin with. And the fact that it got brought into film and it was brought to the mainstream with the MCU has been quite the accomplishment in my eyes. And you're right, creating something basically out of nothing is even harder. And I do commend M. Night Shyamalan, you know, despite his past films.
Yeah, one comes to mind.
Yeah, we won't talk about it. Won't even mention it by name. Won't draw any reference to it whatsoever.
Good.
Yeah, that's a bad time.
I'd say that the movie did really, really well with setting the atmosphere and tone. I think one of my favorite things was actually with its film score.
Oh, yeah?
And its sound effects. Like,
oh, yeah.
Whenever
the sound in this movie was fantastic.
Whenever it would focus on the Overseer, whenever he would be doing something that was high maintenance or really full of tension,
yeah,
you would slowly hear a clock ticking in the background. Mm-hmm. And it would slowly get faster and faster and faster, mm-hmm. making the tension build up like he's about to be caught or something's about to go awry.
Right.
And sometimes that might happen. Sometimes nothing would happen. Mm-hmm. It was more so just he's on a race against the clock because he feels like what he's doing is not enough.
Right.
Which, honestly, I can agree with his character, because after everything that's happened in the first two films, look around at the city they're in, it's still going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where you look at it and can really one man make that much of a difference that can completely
crime-free?
Yeah, no,
it's an impossibility.
Yeah, no, and so, like, I don't know, I just think it's kind of interesting because when we're looking at superhero films, especially as of late, a lot of the bigger ones are the big team-up films. You know, you've got your X-Men, the Avengers films, obviously we had Infinity War, that was the biggest superhero movie. A lot of the, you know, the intrigue lately of superhero movies have been these team-up films, mm-hmm. and which, you know, for reason, I mean, what makes a superhero movie better than just one superhero? Put a whole bunch of them in a mix, especially ones that can work off of each other and have that kind of chemistry. So that being said, like, it's kind of interesting to see a film outside of a shared universe that's not like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it still only focuses on the one hero, because he is a lone hero in a film of villains.
He's a lone hero with a guy in a chair,
mm-hmm.
who happens to be his son, which I thought was a really nice touch.
Yeah, no, and I really like how they brought the same guy. It was the same actor.
Yeah, and they've waited so long, mm-hmm. that they were able to do that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that might have been planned from the get-go.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that was actually planned, but if it was, definitely I'll hand that to Shyamalan. That was a great move on his part. I was not expecting the mom to be dead. I mean, I figured that if she was going to be gone, they were going to continue the whole route they went with when they started with Unbreakable, where they had a rocky marriage. I know they kind of reconciled at the end, but I figured if mom wasn't going to be there, it was just going to bring that back that she left. I was kind of actually surprised that they actually killed her off. I don't know if that was actually a good choice or a bad choice. I'm not saying either way, but it was definitely an interesting one.
I can understand and respect the way that they handled it, though, mm-hmm. because they did not draw extreme attention.
Oh yeah, no, it was like
it wasn't like
one scene they mentioned.
Two tops, because they mentioned it to the son as well, about how this is why you think your father is so special.
See, that's the part I was thinking of. So I was thinking at least once.
They mentioned the loss of the wife and how it affected Bruce by showing him having very subtle flashbacks.
Fair enough.
And the way that they did it, it's almost like he just casually got up from the kitchen table to talk to his wife, and then you realize, no, that's a past memory. That's in his head. She's gone.
Right, yeah, but it's not until they bring it up with the son that they actually bring up the fact that it was because she died.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah.
I mean...
because it could have just been, wife walked out on him.
I thought the performances in this film were spot on. Even the characters that came back hadn't played the characters in a while. Let's go ahead and talk about the villains, since we get two of them. And normally when we're talking about superhero films, that's kind of how we like to separate it. Let's go ahead and talk about the villains first. Let's talk about the split villain. Let's talk about the Horde.
All right.
Kevin Wendell Crumb.
Yeah, not much has changed in the fact of the Horde, other than we get to see a couple of new identities.
Yes, we do. I'm glad they elaborated on that. And I will say, I was impressed with James McAvoy already with Split, with just the handful of personalities we did get. But with this film, it blew my mind even more.
He had to switch so quickly. There is one scene that stuck out to me with him.
Okay.
And that is where he actually ends up getting shot.
Yeah.
And he's slowly fading away. Mm-hmm. And then each member of the Horde is slowly there, and it's like the light's fading from each one of them. There's no way that they had a cut there. That was all one focused angle.
Yes.
And he had to switch just like that. Every single emotion, you got to see it. And he stayed in character the full time. But even though it's the same actor, you can feel different emotions from different characters there.
And it's kind of funny because, you know, the way you said it, it didn't dawn on me until after you had said it. That really is what to him, he literally died like 26 times.
27.
Yeah, no, with however many personalities he had, that's how many times he died.
Yeah, we unfortunately don't get to see all of his personalities that they counted in the first
split.
We got really close.
Yeah, we got really close to it, and at that point, you know, you could convince yourself into thinking that that's how many there were. And in the credits, he got credited for every single personality, which I thought was really cool too.
There was a persona that he had that actually felt guilt and remorse for every single thing that happened.
Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis. And he actually backs down at one point, which causes the light to be swiped away from him.
Which is kind of interesting because he was one of the ones that was a hardcore follower of the Beast and followed what Patricia was telling them all along. And I just think it was really interesting that that was the personality that flipped the script and kind of, you know, went and did his own thing. If anything, I would have guessed it would have been Hedwig. Fucking like that part where she's like trying to get him to like come back to like, you know, just reality, and she's holding his hand, and then he turns back to Hedwig and he's like, see, I told you, you're not... Wait a minute, do you like Kevin now? I fucking love that.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Mr. Glass. So the thing that I liked about Samuel L. Jackson in this film, in his portrayal of Mr. Glass, was he hasn't played that character in 16, 17 years. But the way he plays it, he does not miss a beat. It was like he never left that role.
Did he really? Because the role was written with him in mind.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that, he is Mr. Glass. And you know, from that first trailer, when it ended with, you know, what do we call you? First name Mr., last name Glass. Like, just those words, the way he said it, the way he delivers it, it told you that this was going to be, you know, something. Especially with him coming back and playing that character. And he played it flawlessly.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one complaint I have about Mr. Glass, though, is when they finally all get their, I don't know what you call it, outfits. He gets a purple suit that almost looks like they raided Prince's closet.
Well, what do you expect? It's basically the outfit he was arrested in. He wore that kind of stuff in the first movie.
That's true. What really stuck out to me was that he had a necklace that was bedazzled that said MG on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, isn't that a bit overkill?
No, man, he's a comic book expert. He has to make it overkill.
Fair enough. And I guess it was supposed to be a reference and shout out to, like, the golden age of comics.
Yeah, for the most part. And I fucking loved that. I liked how... So, for the first few minutes of the film. I'm saying, let's get Mr. Glass, let's get Samuel L. up in here. And I think it was like the 30-minute mark when we finally get to see him. And it's not until about an hour or so into the movie that he actually talks. At first that bothered me just because of the hype and how excited I was to see him. But actually, after thinking about it, I think they actually did themselves some favors.
Yes, I agree, because with Unbreakable, a lot of people, even though the movie was about Bruce Willis's character,
yeah,
what is it that when people talk about Unbreakable that they bring up?
Like fucking Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson as Mr. Glass, being set up as an ally and then turning out to be a secret villain. Which they always spoil the twist, so that almost like to the wire almost got spoiled for me.
Yeah, no, that's one of the biggest things I tried to like keep from you the entire
I am
thing.
so glad that looking into Unbreakable just to see when it came out and everything and to see who played who, that I didn't get it spoiled.
Yeah, no.
Because I saw the name Mr. Glass, but I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so he plays a guy named Mr. Glass. That's a really weird name. Okay, maybe I'll find out later why that is. Whatever. I was okay with that. That's all I needed to know was who was in it.
Yeah. And they literally, I would say that's one of the best M. Night Shyamalan twists in the entire world. And I only say one because the twist and split where at the end they reveal that it's tied into the Unbreakable universe, that will always be my favorite twist. And then yesterday we went to go see the movie and they revealed the twist. You want to do the honors?
Well, when they revealed the twist, I didn't see it coming from like a mile away.
Not at all.
Okay, so in Unbreakable, the whole situation that occurs is that there was a train that was derailed.
Right.
And that's how Bruce Willis got his abilities.
Yeah, because everyone else died, but he survived.
In Split, Kevin, his mother abused him to the point where I didn't realize this until I looked closer at it, and I feel really dumb that it took me this long to realize. Those are iron burn marks on him.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was only seeing the circular pattern and not the point at first, so I thought there were just random bite marks on it. Yeah. So anyway, the whole point is that his father's gone, that's why he was abused.
Right.
His father is gone because his father was aboard the train that Bruce Willis was on in Unbreakable, which was destroyed by Mr. Glass. Effectively meaning, to make a long story short, that Mr. Glass created the Horde.
Yep. As well as creating
the Overseer.
Exactly, and then I thought that was so cool. And it would have been cool. It literally would have. That would have made the whole movie for me. It ends with them dying. They leave it ambiguous whether or not they were super because Sarah Paulson convinced them otherwise and just left it at that. And then
Sarah Paulson's character.
And then the second twist fucking happens. And
now, it's not that bad, but it is shoehorned.
Yeah, I just feel like they just... Because it doesn't bother me that the movie was just over 2 hours long. But now after seeing it and seeing that little bit of an extra ending tacked onto it, I feel like it didn't need to be 2 hours long. So, basically the other twist is that Sarah Paulson, who plays this psychiatrist working where they're keeping Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson, and James McAvoy, and the entire time she's trying to convince them that they're not really superheroes, they're just fucking insane. And for a while, they even had me convinced that the shit wasn't real. And I fucking loved it. Because right before Samuel L. Jackson, gets offed in the film, he's laying there and he's laughing like a crazy person. And I thought that would have been a fucking rad ending. That got me pumped. And then, she shows up and she says, no, you guys really are superheroes. I don't remember seeing that tattoo anywhere in the film or anywhere in Unbreakable.
Okay, I think I was looking at the wrong wrist, to be honest.
Like when that dude shoots James McAvoy and they show his arm in the tattoo, I'm like, okay, you're showing me that, like, it's supposed to mean something to me. But at the current moment, it doesn't mean anything to me. So, what are you trying to tell me, M. Night Shyamalan?
He's trying to tell us everything and nothing. We know he's good at that. No offense, this movie was good, but less is more sometimes.
Yeah, no, and they they create this whole fucking like little ending subplot where Mr. Glass saved all the footage from the day of that incident, and he sends it to all the people who were affected by it. The girl from Split, his mom, and Bruce Willis's son. And they release it out to the world so that way people know, which is what this organization didn't want. Sarah Paulson didn't want the world to know that superheroes exist because they just want to keep the world in balance, so they kill off all the superpowered people.
Which I can understand. Movies like Suicide Squad beg to ask the same question.
Right.
Like with Superman, should anyone have that much power? And should we trust said power if it exists? Or should we take matters into our own hands and execute said power so it can't be used against us?
Right.
It's understandable, and I do like that in theory.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, maybe if it was given a little bit more exposure earlier in the film, like, maybe if, like, someone had, like, dropped a hint saying, like, there shouldn't be supers, or something like that. It didn't even have to be anything, like, super huge. Just give me the slightest notion that there could be something of that sort, or that could be, like, an issue. Don't just drop it on me in the last 20 minutes of the film. Not even the last 20 minutes. Pretty sure the last 15 minutes of the film were just dedicated to that whole secret organization subplot that really didn't need to be there.
And all it did was make me, as a viewer and a fan, ask too many questions.
Yeah, no, I shouldn't be asking that many questions at the end of what is supposed to be the final entry in this trilogy. And that's why I'm saying I'm really hoping that Shyamalan doesn't piggyback off of the achievements of this film, because that almost seems like what this film was to begin with. Because, like, just think about it, he made Unbreakable, which was arguably like his last really good successful movie. I mean, yes, he had Signs, he had The Village, and those weren't like necessarily terrible movies to the extent of what The Last Airbender or what After Earth was, but they're still not on par with something like his earlier films like The Sixth Sense or Unbreakable. Then out of nowhere he comes out with Split, which is a massive success, almost to the extent of what Unbreakable was, and literally
even more so because people keep on referencing it and talking about it, almost as if they don't even know what Unbreakable is. And quite a few people that I've talked to who have actually seen Split are not aware that Unbreakable is connected to it.
Gotcha.
I'm like, really?
Right. So what happens after Split's successful and they got that Unbreakable tie-in, it's almost as if literally the next move after that was, well, let's piggyback off of that and make Glass. Which, granted, Glass so far hasn't been shaping up to be nearly as successful as what Unbreakable and what Split is. So
people seem to be tearing it down for some reason.
Right, so I'm kind of thinking that I'm going to get my wish and this is going to be the end of an era for that, which I'm totally okay with. I want the Unbreakable trilogy to stay a trilogy.
And there's one moment that I think could have fixed that whole entire thing to make it so it's an open and shut case.
Okay, how would you fix that?
How would I fix the whole shadowy boarded figures thing? After they leak the footage, she goes out into the hallway, right? Falls to the ground screaming. Send in one of her cohorts. You failed us. We've been compromised. We can't continue our plan with you being a part of it. Pow!
Right.
Done.
Yeah, no, drop that.
Done. Execute her on the spot. Camera sees. Who cares? Take out the security guard. Erase the footage. You're in and out. Done. Blow the building if you have to. It was a gas leak. Nothing could have been done. It would work open and shut. No one was involved.
Right. Alright, so I guess... You're fucking... Hey! Don't fucking stick your claws in that shit! Overall, it wasn't bad. It wasn't Shyamalan bad. It's not nearly as good, in my opinion, as Unbreakable. Unbreakable is still the best out of the three, but I think, with the exception of the stuff at the end, everything leading up to that is better than Split. And then it's at the end where Split actually kind of rises, because the ending of Split is phenomenal, in my opinion. I don't know what would beat that. I don't even know if Unbreakable beats that, just because the Unbreakable ending is kind of like anticlimactic once the twist is done. Once the twist is up, the movie's over. And that is how it is with fucking Split. But they also has that added bonus of a twist where they reveal that the entire time she was in the zoo, and there were people there the entire time that could have helped her, but just didn't know she was there. And then they did the whole Unbreakable thing, which I thought was a nice little transition.
I definitely say see it, but don't expect the greatest movie ever.
Don't expect Unbreakable.
Don't expect Unbreakable, which really deserves more credit than it gets.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to keep going back to this, but I don't understand why people give Split so much credit.
If you have a friend that hasn't seen Unbreakable, do your service, show them Unbreakable. I did it for this kid.
Yeah, I almost saw Split without seeing Unbreakable.
Yeah, no, that would have been that. I think not to say it would have been a mistake, but it definitely would have taken away from the fact.
It would have, and so many people made that mistake, and so many people that I know, and it's kind of sad. I told my mom that I saw Unbreakable, and she was just like, "Oh, who's in that?" And I'm like, "Bruce Willis," and she's like, "Oh, wow, okay." And Samuel L. Jackson. Well, now I really want to look into it. I'm like, exactly. Do that. I also saw Split, but see Unbreakable before Split. Otherwise, it's not going to be as good of a time. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Got it."
Cool.
I'm hoping she gets to see it, and if she doesn't, then I will somehow procure copies and show her.
Figure it out.
Yeah, I will figure it out, because those movies, I think they're cinema gold.
Yeah. All right, well, I think that just about covers it for this episode of Straight Razor in the Theater. Next time that we'll be on the couch discussing a theater movie will be Happy Death Day to You, and let me tell you, I am really excited for that one. That'll be a fun little watch.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping so. They played a trailer for it in front of fucking Glass. We'll see you guys next month with another one of these, but until then, Avengers Assemble.
May the Force be with you.
And it's time to kick ass and chew bubblegum. Take it easy, guys.